switch on your video and unmute yourself so that we could chant some Guru Vandana for our Professor Saab as well
for all of us.
all the Gurus. Please join me so that all of us give our respect to our all Gurus. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara,
Brahma, Guru
Guru
Vishnu,
Sakshat
Guru Devo
Brahma,
Brahma,
Sakshat Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurve Namah.
Guru Govindo Khade Kake
Bali Hari Guru Aapne, Govind Diyo Bataye.
We wish our Gurus
Akhand
best
Mandalakaram
of
Vyaptam
health.
Yena Characharam Tatpadam Datsitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurve Namah.
तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। आप सबकी ओर से मैं प्रोफेसर साहब को और अपने सभी गुरुओं को अपने मन से, तन से, हृदय से ये शुभकामनाएं देता हूं कि वो अपने स्वस्थ शरीर से हम सबको अपनी तरफ से गाइड करते रहें, अपनी तरफ से ब्लेसिंग देते रहें, आशीर्वाद देते रहें। नमो नारायण, नमो नारायण।
Thank you very much. I had put it on recording. I am straightway switching over to sharing of the screen and not wasting any time now.
Everybody now requested to please unmute yourself.
We may have some more friends joining over a period of time. That doesn't matter. We'll take them along with us.
Sure, sir.
Is the screen visible, Dr. Arora?
Yes, sir.
Right. I do not know why, but I feel that we need to do a lot of preparation in getting ready. So I thought, let me name this presentation, Let's Be Ready. And many of you will ask me, ready for what? I'll answer that question, but primarily, today's talk is focusing on ready to teach. Ready to teach both online and offline. Ready to teach in a new mode of teaching that the CBSE has told us in a circular that you will be doing what we call as hybrid teaching. I mean, they have said that you will be doing hybrid teaching after this. And naturally, if there is hybrid teaching going to be, we have to learn what are the effective scales or parameters of effective teaching online and effective teaching offline. I answer my question of what are we to be ready with. These are questions that I ask of myself, and I would request every principal to ask them himself. We spend 2 full days in answering these questions. Are we ready to open our schools? Do we have some more preparations to make? Are we conscious of the security and safety arrangements for our children, staff, ourselves, all categories of staff, and even the community? How are we going to maintain the social distance, not only in the classes, at the assembly, in the labs, in the library, on the corridors, even at the gates? What kind of hygiene and sanitation arrangements have we made? Are we ready to execute purchases of things that we require? Maybe masks, maybe face shields, maybe partitions, or maybe the sanitizers. How are we going to deal with the parents? Will communication help, or will we have to engage them, not involve them, but engage them? How do we get the tuition fee payable to the school, paid by them? And then the most important part in which our teachers should be more concerned and engaged is the teaching learning part of it. These are the things that we have to be ready. I wanted to present this new picture of a school class. There are 2 classes merged into one. On the left-hand side, you see these partitions. They're cardboards given a particular color. And on the right-hand side, you see both the mask and the face mask. And although the social distance is not full 1 meter, but it's almost a meter, almost 6 feet. As we move further, what are the strategies that we are going to employ now? The broad pedagogy is all right, but the pedagogy has to be converted into a strategy. It is as much as a war. I mean, we are fighting a war against loss of studies, loss of time, loss of attentiveness, loss of learning. Maybe a part of it has happened, but are there some strategies that you have in mind that you will employ now? How will you conduct your online teaching? You're already doing it, By now, our teachers have got the expertise of the platform and expertise in delivering their lessons, but there are many other areas on which we have still to work. How are we going to assess our children if it continues to be online? With 2 states declaring that there will be no classes, even online classes, no FaceTime. I'm talking of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. The Directorate of Education came with an order that the pre-primary children and the primary children will have no face-to-face, will have no online classes at all. There will be no exposure to screen time. Even though the cases have gone to the court, we're waiting, but how will we assess those children? You must have heard of the decisions that the board has taken in assessing those children who were not able to appear in the examination or were able to appear in a part of it. If a child has appeared only in 3 papers, well, the best 2 of the 3 average will be given in the other papers. If he has appeared in only 2, well, then the best of these 2 will be taken and distributed to the other papers. If he has appeared only in 1, even in class 12, well, then the internal assessment given by the school, the board marks, the overall percentages, they will be taken into consideration, and the student then offered a choice that you can improve your performance by appearing in an examination in September. And if after improving your performance, you find that even in the examination you have not done well, the marks given by us were better, you can continue with those marks. Our children have not been able to understand. They have missed some initial parts. By now, they are acquainted with the classes in most of the schools. In some schools, they are lagging behind, but there are areas of deficiency which need to be remedied. How will we conduct this remediation? How do we prepare our children, especially who will be facing the board examination in the month of March? I mean, the children of class 10th and 12th. How will we blend our teaching, our online and offline teaching? Because we are told to stagger classes. That is, half the class, say odd roll numbers, will come on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the even roll numbers will come on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now, while we are teaching the online children, the offline children, that's face-to-face children, we will be also at the same time, perhaps in some schools, connected with the online children. So there has to be a blend of the offline and the online. Will we be flipping some classrooms? Will the teachers be providing only the videos, the links, the materials, the soft copies, or the hard copies, and the children will be studying at home on their own and then completing certain projects and certain assignments, where the role reversal will happen. The classroom at all will become a place for discussions and for presentation of work and materials that they have read. The school will become a provider of a kind of initial homework which used to be done by children at home will now be done in the class itself. The concept of hybrid teaching comes first to my mind because this is what I promised to deal with. Most of you have driven cars which are hybrid cars which run on 2 fuels, and you have an option of running it either on petrol or on CNG. A hybrid is a mix, a kind of a crossbreed. For example, in the army, we use mules for taking huge loads. In the Ladakh sector nowadays, we use mules to carry loads to great heights, and they carry double the weight that a normal pony or a horse will carry. Now, a mule is a hybrid, basically, a biological hybrid between a horse and a donkey. A hybrid teaching is not any special method of teaching. It isn't a pedagogy of teaching. It's a mix. It's a form of instruction, a form of teaching, where you combine 2 things. You combine face-to-face teaching that we have been doing in the classrooms with online teaching, which we are doing nowadays. The online teaching can be blended, and some of you in your mind may have a thought, then what is the difference between blended and hybrid? Blended is customizing it to the pace of the child. Blended is child controlled, because there are children in the classes who learn at their own pace. They learn according to their own needs and desires. A child may take 3 hours to complete a particular chapter. Another child or the whole class may spend only 2 hours on it. So in the blend, it's a learning management system. Hybrid is not a learning management system. Hybrid is a mix, and not necessarily a mix of 50-50. It can be 70-30, 60-40. So hybrid teaching would be where both things are available. The child is provided some classes online and some classes face-to-face. The purpose of this is that both the methods have certain best features. For example, face-to-face has personal contact, emotional touch, personal touch, eye contact, contact reinforcement, which may not be possible now. But these are advantages of a face-to-face classroom. You can look at the child's eyes and understand where he is. You can at once, from the expressions of their faces, realize that they are not picking up what you are talking to them. So you can bring the best in. The beautiful features of online classes are that it makes the child more self-dependent. It makes him to learn on his own. It makes him to pay more attention, and because the impact is both visual and there are lessons also, videos also, it makes it more attractive for him. We want to reduce his seat time because in the classroom he sits for 6 hours. We want to reduce that time by combining the best features of online teaching with the best features of face-to-face teaching. When this is done, it becomes hybrid teaching. On the left-hand side, in the black column, you must have read what is written in the white color. The daily environment has become more computerized than ever before. This is not today. This didn't happen because of the pandemic. It was happening earlier also. Therefore, whatever advancement is occurring in the field of technology, it has affected the growth of education and also the method of instruction. Now, the method of instruction, which should have been influenced by it greatly, but it was not, except in a small percentage of schools who used smart boards, who used other means of instructing by using technology, but now we'll be using it full scale. I would go further to explain this, what we call as hybrid teaching. Now, if you look at the chart on the left-hand side, you will see teacher-centered teaching. Whenever there is teacher-centered teaching, it is face-to-face teaching, predominantly face-to-face teaching. And whenever it becomes learner-centered teaching, the learner has access to MOOC, that is massive online open courses. There are so many courses available to our children, not the junior children in the schools, but after 12th, they have a lot of variety of courses available. They are so massive and they are open. Open means he can study them at his own time. He can study them at his own convenience. I have seen a grandmother and a granddaughter studying together from an Open University of UK and doing a massive online course, both of them. The formal textbook, where there is a review and a preview and the teacher teaches, is face-to-face teaching. And now when it's combined with formal learning, where we have advanced learning techniques, flipped classroom, blended classroom, when we combine them, it becomes what we call as hybrid teaching. The learner's role in both the models is acquiring knowledge. The only difference is the learner's role changes. It becomes leader-centered learning now. The teacher's role in both the models is guidance and curatorship, while as in the second model, that's online teaching, it's only guidance. If you come across informal learners, the informal learners have their their experiences which are based on their own learning. This is what we talk of experiential learning. You see, whatever they have learned, they may have learned it at the rote level, at the memory level, but they carry with them their own introspection of what they have learned. So his experience, his introspection, and his creativity are going a long way, and the teacher becomes a mentor. That is the advantage of this hybrid model. And you will see 6 pictures here. In the first model, you will see it's a model of face-to-face teaching on the left-hand corner at the top. The second model is a part of the class is in the face-to-face teaching, and a part of the class on the TV screens is in the mode of online teaching. And the third, only online teaching, nobody face-to-face. Now, all these 3 are hybrid models, and I have repeated them below. In the first model, all the children are in front of the teacher. He is doing face-to-face teaching. In the second picture, what we call as L4, you have many children who are online and many children who are face-to-face. And in the last picture, you have all the children who are online. There is no offline student at all. Now, if we are going to go for effective teaching, we all know that teaching for us is those activities that we perform, whether in the class or whether online, which induce learning. I mean, it's not an activity without a purpose. It has an objective. It has an aim. That aim must be achieved. And the purpose is that the child must learn. That means there must be some modifications in his behavior which are relatively permanent. That's the definition of learning. Now, if at the end of your class, whether offline or online, there have been changes in the behavior of the children, you have learned. Effectiveness is measurable in terms of your objective. The difference between you and me may be I go with an objective, I teach my class, I find that 50% of my objective has been achieved. I am 50% effective. Instead, when you go to the class, you have taken an objective which is from a lower level of taxonomy. You taught the class, you achieved 100% satisfaction because your objective was achieved by 100% students. You are more effective than I have been. Here, I would take you to a phase of teaching. This model was given to us by Phil William Jackson. He said that whatever teaching we do it predominantly in 3 stages. Teaching is not only when you enter the class. Much of your teaching is done before you touch the class, before you reach the class. We call this stage of teaching, which happens before we reach the class or before we come in front of the camera in an online setting. This stage we call as pre-active stage. It is in this stage that we thoroughly prepare our content. We go through that. We study additional materials on that content. We do a little research so that we are thoroughly equipped. If we have studied 2 books or 2 classes higher than the class that we are teaching, well, it gives us additional confidence. We also decide as to what are the objectives that we want to achieve while teaching this content. We also decide what strategies will we use while teaching this content. We also decide how will we recapitulate this content, how we will go for unit-wise recapitulation or closure at the end of the lesson, how will we assess the lesson, what will be the learning outcomes at the end of the lesson, and how will we relate these objectives to the learning outcomes. All these decisions are taken and you broadly record them in your lesson plan register. Sometimes in a very short form, sometimes in a very elaborate form, or you make weekly lesson plans or fortnightly lesson plans. So the stage 1 of teaching begins before we reach the class. We choose the content, we go through the content. The greater the content depth you have, the greater the confidence you have on the content, the better the chances of your success. You choose the strategy also. It's not you leave things to happen in the class. No, you are definitely that here I'll ask a question, here I'll demonstrate, here I'll give them an experience, here I'll present them a teaching aid, here I will intervene with the help of a video. You make this decision about strategies also. Things can change when you reach the class. You may do a lot of thinking on your feet. From the responses of the children, you may be taking a different course, but then most of the preparation is done beforehand. Once this pre-active stage is done, you are ready now, you enter the class. Or you come in front of the camera for online teaching. What do you do in this? You know your learners, you make a diagnosis about them today, and you start giving your stimuli, which is your actions, and the children start responding to that stimuli, which is their reaction. This is a stage of interaction. All teaching is basically questions, answers. That's the eclectic Socratic approach, or it's an approach where through questions and answers, you develop your entire lesson. Maybe you give small doses of information. For the junior children, that small dose may be 2 to 3 sentences. For senior children, it may be a para. For the senior and more senior children of class 9, 10, it may be a paragraph of 5 to 10 minutes. But this information has to be kept small. The smaller the information given in small doses, the better the chances of its retention by the child. And that gives us an opportunity of interacting with the children and recapitulating what I have said. If what I have said to them in a smaller dose, I find that they have learned it, I can move to the next smaller dose. If I find no, I have to find ways of remedying the situation, giving that dose again. So the second stage is when I am in front of the camera or when I'm in the classroom of actions and reactions. Using the strategies decided, teaching the content, explaining the content, evolving the content, elaborating upon the content, evaluating my own performance, and assessing the children's performance. As I come to the last 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes of a lesson, depending on the time available with me, I now want to see and test whether the children have really gained what I had perceived they would gain. What was the objective I had fixed for this lesson? Have they achieved those objectives? So what kind of testing devices will I use? Will I go for a quiz? Will I give them an assignment? Will I ask them a few questions? Will these questions be multiple choice MCQs, or they will be short answer type or very, very short answer type questions? And once I leave after having tested the class, I give myself a feedback. It is necessary that this feedback is received from others also, even from children. We must go for a 360-degree feedback. But even I can introspect and say, did I teach the way I had decided? Did I really achieve the success in these objectives? Did I go wrong or right everywhere? what happened in my class? Was I able to communicate with confidence? Did the children really show signs on their faces? The sign of wonder, the sign of emotions. Did they interact with me? Well, then I should pat my back and say, well done, Professor Handoo. If they have not, well, then I should say, Professor Handoo, you need to revisit your lesson. You need to plan a better strategy. You need to lower down your objectives. Your class is not so bright. You need to perhaps find ways and means of reaching out to them and coming down to their standard. So these are the three stages. Teaching does not begin inside the class. It does not end inside the class. It begins at the home when we start pre-planning. It goes on in the class, and then even after we come from the class, we start visiting our lessons once again. Now, in the light of these things, if we are to go for hybrid teaching, and at the same time we know the three stages of teaching, we know that we have to relate our objectives with the learning outcomes. We have to develop certain competencies in the children. We have to build up their storehouse of knowledge, but knowledge without understanding would mean nothing. Knowledge and understanding without teaching them how to apply that knowledge also would not mean much. Without developing their higher faculties, the mental faculties of analyzing, evaluating, and creating, perhaps we are not teaching. Because now the board even has decided that we must teach for hearts, not only for lots, not only for lower order thinking, but for higher order thinking. What would you do? Introspect and think about it. I will give you some answers. These will come to you in the form of certain tips. But more than that, my tips may be tips. What you decide yourself will make your teaching effective. By effectiveness, again, I repeat, how will I achieve the objectives that I have laid down in front of me for a particular topic in a particular class? How will I achieve them? If you are able to achieve them, you are far more effective than I am. My first hint to you, my first tip, whenever you are teaching, whether online or offline, please engage the emotions of the children. This is why storytelling is supposed to be one of the finest techniques. This is why laughter and joyful classrooms are important. This is why we are thinking of the happiness curriculum now. You can see on the right-hand side, the wonder on the face of the child. Well, he will never forget what is taught now. You can see the amount of joy on the left-hand side. These daughters of ours are never going to forget what was taught. Please see that during your lesson, you engage the emotion of joy, the emotion of surprise, the emotion of excitement, the emotion of hatred for evil, the emotion of love for truth and good. So that would be my first tip to you. My second tip to you would be, find as many opportunities as many you can, find as many ways and occasions you can to increase the interaction. Interaction here means not my asking a question and they are answering it, but even giving them time to ask questions. Because unless children ask questions, they are not learning. When a child begins to ask questions, he is thinking. And when you answer his questions, you are able to understand his thinking pattern. You are able to understand the deficiencies in his knowledge gap. So increase this interaction. He may interact in groups. He may interact with his peers. He may interact with you. One group may interact with a larger group. Sometimes in the lab, he may interact with the equipment. He may perform an experiment. Even interaction with inanimate objects is also considered as interaction. And then you must have seen the first was engaging emotions. The second was increasing interaction. I move to the third, making meaning. Lot of information that I give to the children nowadays does not make much of a meaning because they don't find any relationship between the content taught to them and their life that they are living or they are going to live a life. They are not sure what kind of life they will lead. And therefore, whatever I teach them does not make much of sense to them. They are told, "Tum isko yaad kar rakhna, imtihan mein yahi aayega." That doesn't make any meaning to them. The content has to be personalized. It has to be relevant to their lives. We call it the life connect. Every lesson must have a life connect. Please share your experiences with that lesson. It should not be you are talking of your experience, how you brought up your children, and the lesson is of social science where a war is being discussed. Perhaps a war could mean atrocities, deaths, loss of life, and then economic loss. You may refer to what your father told you, what he suffered in the Second World War, or when there was a war between two countries, how people suffered. That's how you have to connect it. I have a small video here, but before I show the video, I have a question. You will see on this slide, there are some numbers written here, and you are aware of these numbers. This is our Indo-Arabic system of writing. It's not the Roman system. In the Roman system, we have one, which is never read as one, it's read as first. And similarly, 2 lines are never written as 2, it's read as second. V is written as 5th, not 5. X is written as 10th. So that's the Roman system of numbers. This is the Arabic system. Now, a child in a class asked me a question, sir, if I take 7 in place of 1 and put 1 in place of 7 and say this is not 7, this is 1, and call 1 not 1 but 7, what is the difference? Well, it was very, very difficult for me to answer. I would like any one of you, if he knows the answer, please write it in the chat box. I would love. Why is 1 1? What makes 1 1? Why doesn't it look like 2? Why does it look like 1? There must be some logic behind it. Somebody who wrote this number system must have had some logic. I am explaining that logic after giving you a minute because that's what it will take me to start the video also. I'm moving to the video. The video is the numbers. I'm sorry. I think that was clear. That must have explained to you why 1 is 1, why 2 is 2. It's a simple thing that they made these shapes, the algorithms, on the basis of number of angles. 2 is 2 because it has 2 angles. And 7 is 7 because it was written in that primitive way. Not nowadays, but my father used to write it that way. He used to give a line in the standing line in between. It makes 7 angles. So when you make meaning to your content, the child understands. As long as it's not related to his life, as long as you keep it far-fetched from the context of his life, it doesn't get personalized, it doesn't become meaningful to him. I come to the 4th hint. I repeat the 3 because I'll carry you along with me. The first one was engaging emotions. The second one was increasing interaction. The third one was making meaning. The 4th is something that we all have been doing, and I'm sure you all are doing. You understand the importance of it. Get learners ready. Prepare the children in the first 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes for the class. You can't take a horse to a river and make him drink water. It's only when he is thirsty and when he feels the need of drinking water that he will drink. Similarly, all children facing you in an online class or being right in front of you in a class are not going to learn because you are a good teacher and you have announced that this is the topic. You have to prepare them. You have to motivate them. You have to build up their apperceptive mass connectivity with the knowledge that you are going to give them. You may perhaps ask them a few questions regarding yesterday's lesson. You may connect it with their previous knowledge, and previous knowledge must not mean only what you taught, but what all the teachers taught, what the child experienced at home, what the child saw and experienced in the bus, what he watched from the media. All this is his previous knowledge. You can use this previous knowledge, which is already stored in his brain, to combine it with the present knowledge that you are going to give. So motivate your children, prepare them. Stories, anecdotes, questions about the previous lesson, demonstrations, they are supposed to be wonderful techniques to motivate the children, build up their curiosity, and they get ready for the next lesson. As we come to the next point, there is always a fear in the mind of the child, but happiness curriculum fights this fear. It says that fear does not allow the reasoning faculty to work. Whenever there is fear in the mind of a child, he does not learn. You may say, sir, there is no fear. The child is always afraid of the teacher. It's not respect, but fear for the teacher. the stick in the hand of the teacher or on the side. He is even afraid of the duster in the hand of the teacher, because many times the teacher has flung this duster against the wall or at the head of a child. I mean, thank God he was not hurt. But there have been instances of teachers trying to be punitive or not in control of their emotions and acting funny. Or there is another fear now which has been building up during the past 1 decade. Monitor, please carry this child to the headmaster. He will deal with him. Take him to the supervisor. Make him stand outside. Or if the offense is a little bigger, go and take him to the reception and tell the receptionist that Sudha madam says call his parents. The parents are to be immediately called. So he is dying out of fear. And when there is fear in the mind, reasoning distorts. Reasoning does not work. I've been telling all my friends that the psychological impact of fear is so great that in a situation of fear, Professor Handoo can run faster than Owen or Bolt if he knows that death is so near and I have to run away and save myself. Even though I'll not be capable of running a mile in 2 hours, but that time I will cover a mile in less than 10 seconds. Because the total energy of the body is drawn towards the legs. The mind is incapable of thinking. You must have seen it when there is a house in the neighborhood on fire, when there is an earthquake, when there is a disaster. You must have seen the impact of the fear of death, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of unknown during this period of COVID. So why should our children be afraid of anything? Please reduce. Don't talk about it. Don't say, children, you need not be afraid of anything. Well, that's creating more fear. You are telling them that you need to be afraid. Children, we are all here to learn. This is going to be a wonderful, joyous class. I love your laughter. I love your smiles. I would like to see, oh, Arun there, why aren't you laughing? Sheila there, why aren't you smiling? I am creating that environment. And over a period of time, as they start knowing you more intimately, the threat will move away and the children will have no inhibitions in learning, no obstacles to their path to learn. We have covered 5. We have a few more to go. We come to the 6 now. It says, make children drink as much water as much is possible. I'm sorry. Normally we say 3.5 liters, even 2 to 3 liters would be enough for a child. Even you should be drinking a lot of water. And some of you may say, sir, what has water to do with learning? I'm sorry, learning happens all in the brain. And because learning happens in the brain needs the purest form of fuel. The purest form of fuel for the brain is oxygen. And oxygen is supplied to the brain through the blood, the oxyhemoglobin. And where from does hemoglobin get this oxygen? It gets it from the air sacs in our lungs. And if you drink a lot of water, the blood becomes thinner. The toxins are thrown out. The pure form of blood moves through the brain. The second, as it gets thinner, because water contains already in its ionic form both oxygen and hydrogen, there are chances that a part of this oxygen may be attracted by the hemoglobin because that has iron within it, which attracts oxygen, and this may be carried to the brain. You can give the children after half an hour a break. In an online class, you can tell them, I am holding the class for a minute. Keep a bottle of water by your side on your table. Have a sip of water. Did everyone take a sip of water? Could I see the bottle? If you have seen the bottle, well, be satisfied with it. You also have a sip of water. The more water you drink, the more you are saved from dehydration, the more oxygen you are giving yourself to the brain. That also helps you to learn. Then, one of the most important tips for effective teaching is questioning. The technique of questioning. Distribute your questions among the children. Don't ask your questions only to the bright because you get the answers and you can move ahead. No, sometimes you may have to wrestle with a question or with a child for getting the answer to a question. And what kind of questions? Akbar was born in 1524. When was Akbar born? This is an eco question. Can you tell me? This is a suggestive question. Never ask questions with can. Isn't your name Raman? This also is a wrong question because the answer is already in the question. A double-barreled question. When and from whom did India attain independence? There are 2 answers. Baba, the child is so young, he can be killed with 1 bullet only. Why are you firing 2 with him, at him? You are asking him when and where. He has to look for 2 answers. Don't fire double-barreled questions. Instead ask him. I'm telling you what to ask him. When did we achieve freedom? Sir, 15th of August. Well, that's a memory-based question. Do you think we are really free? Are we really free today? Yes, sir, we are. We elect our own, president and our prime minister and our parliament. That's right. But there are still poor people in our country. We had promised economic freedom also. We had promised social freedom also. There are social classes existing. So there could be a discussion on it. your question has become a powerful question. I'll give you a small trick to use if you want to ask powerful questions. Begin your questions with why and how. Why do you do this? For example, if I ask you, just now a friend of mine said we had rain yesterday in Jammu. It's raining today in Bombay also, and we had the high tide also. Why does it rain? My God, what kind of a mad teacher is Professor Handoo? He doesn't know till date why it rains. Sir, it rains because of the condensation of the clouds. Why do the clouds condense? Sir, they condense because they are so high up in the air and it's very cool there. Why is it cool there? Sir, it's cool there because the higher you go, the cooler it is. And how did these clouds reach there? Sir, it is evaporation. Evaporation, I know, happens from all water bodies on the earth. You are telling me the whole water cycle. But how did they reach there? Sir, I didn't carry them. My father also knows nothing about it. You know, sir? Yes, I know. Because they are lighter than air, therefore they went higher. When you ask questions with why and how, it forces the child to think. And you are developing his critical thinking. A child may sometimes become very creative and give you an answer. Give you an answer which might be surprising. For example, you're all wonderful teachers here. I am conscious of the capabilities of all my friends who are here, and some of them must be brilliant teachers. I would like you to tell me, why does it rain in droplets? If you extend your hand to a shower of rain, you will find that there are drops of water which fall onto your hand. I know it. When the cloud condenses, the cloud condenses in small portions, and you have a cloud burst. You must have experienced these cloud bursts. Some 3-4 years back we had in Uttarakhand. Some 10-15 years back we had in Pahalgam, where a lot of loss of life and property happened because the whole mass of water came down, nothing there to stop it. Now then, why does it fall? And my next question, think about it, please. Why does it fall in droplets? And my next question, if at all it has to fall because there is attraction of the earth, the gravitational pull of the earth, why does it fall in a spherical shape? I have never seen a triangular drop of water. I have never seen a hexagonal drop of water or a pentagonal drop of water. Why spherical? Now, brilliant teachers of science will at once say, sir, a body, while trying to travel through the layers of air, will try to reduce its surface area. And sphere is the only geometrical shape with the least surface area. So that's why water takes. You must have read something about capillarity. You must have read something about surface tension to answer these questions. But why and how will become very difficult questions. They will enable you to develop your faculty of critical thinking. And because we have to teach them for higher order skills, which is critical thinking, is one of the higher order skills of the 21st century, please use powerful questions. Powerful questions do not mean that they hit the child. They should hit his brain, force his brain to think. They should not be normal questions of what you tasked and now he has to echo it back. So we have covered 7. I would go through these 7 one by one. I started with engaging emotions. I said second, if I forget somewhere, please remind me. So I said that we should increase our interaction. I said we should make meaning. That was the 3rd. The 4th was getting learners ready. The 5th was reducing threat. The 6th was drinking more water. And the 7th was using questions beginning with why and how. Thereby they become challenging questions and they force the child to think critically. I move now to the 8th. Give feedback. I've been asking some of my teachers who work online. I tell them, why don't you ask some of your colleagues to watch your lesson quietly? The teacher can switch off the video and watch your lesson, and then later you can go to the teacher and tell her, how did I do? Please tell me what are the things that I should improve upon. Was my pace good? Was my posture correct? Did I look presentable? Did I present my material in a sequential order? This person will be capable of giving you feedback that should help you to improve. The purpose of feedback is improvement. If the purpose of feedback is improving the teacher, then the teacher also must give feedback to the children. If the child answers a question, say good, excellent, wonderful. I knew you alone could answer that question because it was tough. Others were not thinking. Now let me see if others also start thinking. Put your another question to them. Now, children, when they are reinforced, when they are given this feedback that they are on the right line, they are going along the path and learning at a pace at which you want them, things will improve. Things positively will be effectively going towards teaching. You know that all human beings that we are, including our children and the teachers, we have 5 senses. 5 senses. We regard these senses as the gateways of knowledge. We have our eyes, we call them the sense of sight. We have our ears, we call them the sense of hearing. We have our nose, which we call as the sense of smell. We have our tongue, which we call as the sense of taste. 4 covered. and we have our skin, which we call as the sense of touch. These 6 senses enable us to explore the world and receive the experiences of the world, and through these experiences we gain knowledge. Are we trying to use in our lessons all these senses? Here, let me caution you. The olfactory and the gustatory, that is the sense of smell and the sense of taste, these contribute to only 2% of the knowledge that we gain from the world. 81% of the knowledge that we gain from the world comes from our eyes. So what has to be more important in our lessons? The visual impact. That's why in the good old days we used a lot of teaching aids. We used biovisual charts. And now in the present circumstances, we use the digiboards, we use the multimedia, we use the videos, we use the 3D pictures, we use the 3D cartoons. All this creates more of visual impact. We are involving the child. He is listening to us, or he is listening to the sound of the video, and at the same time he is learning. And accordingly, during the last 30 years, we have learned that there are different preferential styles of learning. You see, everybody learns when you are talking to him because he is listening to you. Everybody learns when he is looking at something and he is visually gaining knowledge. Everybody learns when he touches something and he has the feel of it, he learns. Everybody has the capability of moving his large muscles and keeping the brain active and learning. There are many people who learn while they are walking. Walk enables their brain to function more efficiently than when they sit. So we have the 4 styles of learning: the visual, the auditory, the tactile, and the kinesthetic. But we can't say Professor Handoo is a visual learner. No, my dear. Professor Handoo is a visual learner, an auditory learner, a tactile learner, and a kinesthetic learner. But if the material is preferred in the visual form, he's a preferred learner. He learns quickly. He learns fast. While as another gentleman like Dr. Arora, he's an auditory learner. While he is listening to me, he may not be watching anything. He may even close his eyes and listen attentively. He listens more than 90%. His preferred style. His preferred style is auditory. My preferred style is visual, even though I learn in all the 4 possible ways. I take you to a video again that will explain this all to you. You will have to increase the volume of your devices.
This video is about learning styles and the different ways that people learn. Because people learn different ways, it's important to take into account your own preferred way of learning. Psychologists have developed several models to help us understand the way people learn. The one we're going to look at today is called the VAC model. It divides people into 3 categories: visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. Visual learners learn by seeing things. You can explain something to them over and over, but until they actually see it with their own eyes, they may not get it. Other people are much more able to remember and understand what they hear. They may not understand something shown to them in pictures until someone explains it to them. These people are called auditory learners. They learn by hearing. Finally, there are those who like the hands-on approach to learning. They never really understand something until they get a chance to use it somehow. They are kinesthetic learners. They learn by doing. It is very important to know what your own preferred learning style is, so that you can personally tailor your study strategies with that style in mind. That way, you can get the most effective use out of your study time. When you figure out what your own preferred learning style is, you can implement specific study strategies to make your study time more effective. For a visual learner, effective study strategies could include drawing diagrams, mind mapping, flashcards, creating a mental picture of the material using visual imagery, and rewriting professors' notes in your own words. An auditory learner would find completely different strategies helpful, which might include taping lectures for review later, having discussions with other students, reading things out loud softly to yourself, tutoring other students to reinforce knowledge, and participating in classroom discussions. For a kinesthetic learner, it's important to be involved in every step of the learning process and to have a chance to use concepts in a practical environment. This might include underlining or highlighting text with different colors, reteaching the topic to your group, repeating answers while you are walking or jogging, and creating practice tests for yourself. I encourage you to take some of the many online quizzes.
That was aimed at telling you that different people have different learning styles, and you need to find out your preferred style. Once you have found that out, you can learn things faster. And at the same time, you must bear in mind that I have a group of children in my class who all have their own preferred styles. Therefore, whatever material I present, I must have a visual material, I must have an auditory material, and I must have a tactile or a kinesthetic material. The most important point here is, while we are teaching face to face, because inclusion has become very much a part of our society, a part of the educational systems, we have learners with special needs, we have learners with different abilities, we have learners who learn at their own pace, we have learners who have difficulties in reading and writing but are good at something else. How do we teach these learners also? A good teacher will ensure that he reaches out to these children also, because in the first maybe a week's time, he understands the child, he has the previous record, the profile of the child, he knows from that profile as to what are the drawbacks or the deficiencies in this child. He takes help of the counselor, school counselor, and from that he devises a strategy where some part of the activities could be done for such children also. There are children with special abilities in your class. There are children with special needs in your class. Please teach the whole class. Do not ignore these children. And here I would remind you of a small video. You have seen this movie. I won't run the whole of it, only a part of it.
दोस्तों, आज मैं तुमको एक कहानी सुनाऊंगा। एक लड़के की कहानी। एक लड़का था, मत पूछो किधर। वो पढ़ लिख नहीं पाता था। लाख कोशिशों बाद उसको रहता ना था याद कि y x के बाद आता था। अल्फाज उसके दुश्मन उसकी आंखों के सामने नाचते थे, डांस कर करके जीवन भर के बेचारे को सताते थे। लिखना पढ़ना थका देता उसको, टुकड़े अपने सुना दो किसको। भेजा फुल था, स्टार्टर गुल था, ऊपर से एबीसी डिस्को। फेल हो गया एक दिन बेचारा, पढ़ने लिखने के बोझ का मारा। लोगों ने उसे गधा बेवकूफ कहा, बच्चे ने सारा अपमान बहादुरी से सहा। फिर एक सवेरे उसने सोना उगला, तेरी जो सुनी जहां है सारा जहां पिघला। बोलो बोलो कौन है वो? करेक्ट राजन, एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन, जीनियस, महान साइंटिस्ट, जिसने दुनिया को अपनी थियोरी और रिलेटिविटी से हिला के रख दिया। द ब्राउनियन मोशन, द फोटोइलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट, फॉर व्हिच ही वाज अवार्डेड द नोबेल प्राइज इन 1921। ईशान, जरा लाइट ऑन करना प्लीज। किस महान हस्ती ने दुनिया को इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से रोशन किया? एडिसन,
थॉमस अल्वा एडिसन।
बिल्कुल सही ईशान, वेरी गुड। वो भी बेचारा था एबीसीडी का मारा। आओ बैठो ईशान। नहीं, लाइट रहने दो। एडिसन भाई की रोशनी हम पर पड़ती रहे। ओके, इसको तो सब जानते हैं। बचपन में इसको भी पढ़ने लिखने में तकलीफ होती थी, लेकिन अब देखो क्या धूम मचा रहा है। और भी है असली नमूने। पाब्लो पिकासो, फेमस क्यूबिस्ट पेंटर, उसको 7 नंबर कभी समझ में नहीं आया। कहता था ये तो मेरे अंकल की उल्टी नाक है। मिकी माउस का बाप कौन?
वर्ल्ड डिज्नी।
करेक्ट, वॉल्ट डिज्नी। अक्षरों से परेशान, डाल दी कार्टूनों में अपनी जान। नील डायमंड, पॉपुलर सिंगर, लाल लाल रिपोर्ट कार्ड के शर्म में डूबा गाने लिखता। एगाथा क्रिस्टी, फेमस मिस्ट्री बुक राइटर। यकीन करोगे, एक लेखिका जो बचपन में पढ़ लिख नहीं पाती थी। लेकिन आज सडनली मैं तुम लोगों से ये सब क्यों बता रहा हूं? तुम्हें यह दिखाने कि दुनिया में ऐसे ऐसे हीरे पैदा हुए हैं जिन्होंने सारी दुनिया का नक्शा ही बदल दिया, क्योंकि ये दुनिया को अपनी अलग नजर से देख पाए। दिमाग उनके जरा हटके थे, आसपास वालों को बर्दाश्त नहीं हुआ, तकलीफें खड़ी कर दी। इसके बावजूद वो जीते, और ऐसे जीते कि दुनिया देखती रह गई। इन सिकंदरों, कलंदरों, बिलंदरों के नाम आज याद है। इनको याद करते हुए इस 4 दीवारी के बाहर कदम रखेंगे और कुछ अलग बनाएंगे, डिफरेंट, कुछ भी जी में आए वो उठाओ, पत्थर, लकड़ी, कचरा, कुछ भी। चलो छोटे तालाब की तरफ बढ़ना शुरू करो।
That was a video to tell us that even though there are children in our classes who may not be able to read, write with the same kind of efficiency with which other children do, dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, they may not be able to socialize and maintain an eye contact, autism, they may be suffering from Asperger's syndrome, even Down syndrome, I mean, all kinds of learning disabilities. But those children have also been children once upon a time and who outshone others with their own ingenuity. Their abilities and their genius lies in some other area rather than studying and passing examinations. I have finished 10. I'm coming to the last point. Be inspired to inspire. Out of experience, inside classes and outside classes, watching children, watching teachers, I've seen that teachers who, in spite of their worries, forget them, their domestic troubles they leave behind. And when they enter the classes, it's a bundle of energy. It's a vibrant volcano, spitting lava in every direction. It is somebody putting on fire. They say about leaders, they say, especially school leaders, that if you want to attract attention, douse yourself with kerosene oil or with petrol and put yourself on fire. A crowd will assemble to watch how he's burning. That's what I saw these teachers doing. They were inspired teachers. Their movements, their walk, their gestures, their postures, their facial expressions, the smile on their faces, they were so inspired that the children also got inspired. On the contrary, there are a few lazy people. I don't talk of teachers. I haven't come across a lazy teacher as yet. A teacher cannot afford to be lazy. Even though the health may be failing, the teacher will prefer to take rest and depute somebody else to the class and then go back when she feels better and take the class. The purpose is that inspired teachers, full of energy, full of hope, full of positivity, lot of proactiveness, they are able to inspire confidence among the teachers. Let's go through all these elements so that you don't forget them. Please engage the emotions of your children. Please increase interaction when you are teaching them. Please make content relevant to them. Life connect, make meaning. Prepare them for the lesson before you start the class. Reduce the threat and the fear from the class. Make them drink water once or twice, maybe in sips only. Then I have covered 4 and 2, 6. I am at the 7th. Give them feedback about their performance constantly. Keep on encouraging them. Keep on reinforcing them. And then number 8, what was that? Teach all them for all senses. Use both visual, tactile, auditory teaching material so that it reaches out to all the children. Teach different students differently and be inspired to inspire. I have forgotten one. Would somebody tell me what was that?
Get learners ready.
I said that, sir. Something I missed.
Give feedback. Give feedback.
Use
Give
powerful
feedback, sir.
questions. I used that also. I missed.
Give feedback. Give feedback.
I left it deliberately, not that I forgot it. I wanted to leave it. Ultimately, I would like that your whole teaching strategy is question-answer based. We call it the strategy, where your questions get answers, and through correcting those answers or accepting those answers, you are able to improve their thinking. Well, this applies, all these 11 points will apply to both, but some may not apply. I would like you to see if you forgot something. I forgot one thing, but I told you I forgot it deliberately. If you have forgotten something, are you using mnemonics? Mnemonics are memory aids. For example, my mnemonic for these 11 points is this one word. This is the name of a firm that I set up for making fibers. My name of the firm is Good Fibers. The TM should have been written above S, but I didn't know how to do that. I am as good computer literate as you are, not more than you. So trademark, Good Fibers. G, get learners ready. U, use powerful questions. D, drink more water. F, give feedback. I, increase interaction. B, be inspired to inspire others. R, reduce threat. E, engage emotions. S, teach or engage all senses. T, teach different learners differently. And M, make meaning. If you do not do that, you are not doing justice. I move further to the online concept, and again, similar to these 11, I have a few points which I would like you to bear in mind so that your online teaching becomes successful. I'm sure you are using different platforms because you are coming from different schools. Some of you are using Zoom, some of you are using Google Meet and Google Classroom. Some of you may be still engaging yourselves in video conferencing on the Skype, and now we have the Geo Meet also. Maybe you are using the Geo Meet. Some of you may be working on Microsoft Teams. Please familiarize yourself. I am sure all my sons and daughters who are principals and heads of your schools, they have given you adequate time and adequate training in these platforms. Zoom is a platform. Google is a platform. Google Classroom is a platform. Skype is a platform. Microsoft Teams is a platform. your awareness of dealing and teaching on that platform is very important. And principals need to provide you opportunities. My hats off to all of you. You have been doing wonderful without much training. You have been doing very well. I have seen the teachers delivering lessons, and I'm excited about it. I fail to understand where had you kept this potential hidden so far. It has suddenly blossomed out of you, and you seem to be more confident, more communicative, with always a smile on your faces, using whatever deficiencies there may be in the platform. You are using this platform. Please remember that every platform has two buttons, the mute button and the chat box button. Learn how to use them. They are very important. You can mute those voices that disturb you. You can use the chat for answering the questions, receiving suggestions, raising questions. 1 point. I move to the second. Always remember that when you make your PPTs, less is always more. You always try to put everything on one slide and then spend half an hour in reading that slide. There is a rule about writing PPTs. We call it 10, 20, 30. Not more than 10 slides, not more than 20 minutes for a presentation, and not less than 30 font size. Here I have suggested 48 font size because we are all beginners. We must go for a larger font size. The larger the font size, the less number of words we will have to use on a slide. And please see that every slide has a picture for the visual learner. And never forget what your aim of the lesson is. The slide is not important. The material on the slide is not important. Your aim of the lesson is important. The slide is going to help you to achieve that aim. Third, now, this teaching that you are doing online is absolutely a different kind of an experience from classroom teaching. I can honestly tell you about myself. I had a lot of confidence in my teaching vis-a-vis face-to-face teaching. And my children, whom I taught for almost 30 to 35 years, they were very happy. And that gave me a feeling that perhaps I was a good teacher. I taught well, but that was in face-to-face situations. I am still at a loss to understand how to come to grips with reality in online teaching. Online teaching is a different experience and a different cup of tea. Everybody who begins this online teaching like you started it now, because of this pandemic, you will have to struggle. There will be difficulties. There will be fear. Please overcome this fear as quickly as possible. Don't worry. Don't think of the parent sitting on the back of the child watching you, listening and noting down every spelling error, every pronunciation error, every grammatical error. Don't bother. Don't bother. Just do it. As you start doing it, he will also start forgetting those errors because the number of errors will get reduced. As you gain more confidence, as the fear drops down, you will become more confident. I want you not only to think, but do it. Just do it again and again. And as you keep on doing again and again, your expertise in online teaching will increase along with your expertise in face-to-face teaching, which already is there. We move to the next. The pedagogy cannot be forgotten. Pedagogy means that subject which deals with the methodology of teaching. The pedagogical system is that approach of strategies, activities, the kind of sessions that you will have. It's a very vital tool now. Never forget the aim and the objective of your lesson. Always include an activity that's very interesting and engages both the attention and the activity of the children. Always have interaction with your children. Always give them practice. I have been always preaching, especially after the year 2000. I did it very intently with a group of teachers of about 15, 16 schools, which were entrusted to me. I taught them that teaching is 3 P's: presentation, practice, and performance. And I would force them that out of 30 or 35 minutes, the presentation should be 1/3 of the time. That means only 10 minutes. And you should spend the next 20 minutes in practicing what you are presenting. Because without practice, the child is bound to forget the content that you taught him. Spend more time and do this review or this practice in many different ways. Once the child recalls, another time he answers the question, third time he illustrates it, fourth time he narrates it to a friend, and then you assess his performance. So the 3 P's would be presenting the material to him, practicing the material with him for more time than the presentation, and then checking his performance. So practice and assessment, they are invaluable steps of any pedagogy. Never forget that. I come to the 5th. Please get feedback as early as possible. Your first or maybe your second or maybe your third lesson, you can request a colleague, okay, Sunita, I am delivering this lesson. Would you please also watch it on the Zoom or watch it in the Google Meet? I'll be delivering the lesson. You can switch off your video if you like and watch my lesson. Keep a note of things that I did excellent. Give me a word of praise for that. And things that you would have done differently and you would have liked me to do differently. Get this feedback early. The early you get it, the better it is, because you cannot spot your own things or weaknesses where improvement is to be made, but others can spot them very easily. So trust your friends. I was very glad to know yesterday I was talking to a principal in Chandigarh, and she told me we have our off classes now for a week, because I wanted to prepare my teachers on the platform. Once again, they have done an excellent job, but I need to train them, and they will get into groups. They will discuss their weaknesses. Plus, every day in smaller groups, we'll have 4 to 5 lessons. And after these 4 to 5 lessons are there, I will not be there. They have coordinators will not be there, but the teachers, among the teachers, they will discuss each lesson. In a small group of 5 to 10, the colleagues will be there. They will discuss that lesson and tell him or her how they would have done it, where they would have improved. Sir, this feedback is going to improve my colleagues. I was very glad. I was very glad, and I added this point. And then I would say that it is important that learning continues before and after the class. It does not continue only in the class. Whatever happens after the class is as important as it happens before the class. That means once you have finished your teaching, you will ask your children to send their assignments back to you, to ask their questions on WhatsApp or on their emails. You will ask them to take quizzes online. You can use a program known as Kahoot. You can use Pidilite for that. These are 2 programs which can be very easily used. Kahoot must be combined. Even people are using Microsoft Teams and Kahoot, which can be used for assessments and online quizzes. So ask the children that whatever you have taught them, give them some assignment, ask them to send it to you. I was delighted when in a junior class, say class 6, I saw a teacher telling them, I want you to answer this question and draw a label diagram. I give you 5 minutes. I'll have a sip of water and you will complete this work. Each one, after he or she completes the work, will raise the work in front of her face and show it on the camera to me. I was delighted that everybody raised that page, what they had done, and showed it to the teachers. Excellent, Sunita. Excellent, Nishan. Excellent, Tanya. And she was giving a word of praise to every child. So after the class also, you may have to get him engaged. The 7th point is every class needs preparation. You cannot go to any class in the online lessons also without preparing the content, without checking. Trust me, before starting these, we have come to around the 40th Zoom conference now. This may be 42nd or 43rd, I don't know. Aroraji keeps a good count of them. Aroraji and Dr. Avtar Singh ji, we had Zoom meetings between ourselves, which have continued since 24th of March. Every day we meet at 11 a.m. Every day we meet at 6. Purpose is we learn the various buttons of the Zoom, the various ways of dealing with Zoom, and we get an opportunity of discussing our tomorrow's lesson today and get advice from. Sometimes we do agree, sometimes we do not. Sometimes we quarrel over an issue, but the day we never forget that after all, the friend gave me an advice which I may not have paid attention to, but it was more sensible that I should have paid attention to that advice that very time. You should not be fumbling when you are online. Oh my God, give me a minute. Where did I leave that? I wanted to show that to you. No, that should be available. You want an explanation to be given. You can't tell them, I will give that to you at the next step. No, you should give them the explanation. You should be ready. Otherwise, what happens? In a face-to-face class, you can keep the children under check by looking at them. In an online class, because they are on the other side of the screen, they will disengage. They will say, let the teacher do, let me play my own game, Lotto till then. So please rehearse. Please be very clear and specific in the instructions you give. You can't wing it. You can't say, all right, chalega yaar. Nahi, chalta nahi. Koi cheez chalti nahi hai. Har cheez ko perfection nahi attain hota. Practice karna zaruri hai. Practice it before you reach the children. So practice, practice, and practice. That's my mantra. I'm telling you something which you may say, sir, you are not doing. You yourself are sitting on a chair. Bad on my part. Because I don't have a proper camera. I have just the laptop camera that's giving me, and that can do at this height. If I stand up, you'll be looking at my waist, not looking at my face. Please stand up while you are teaching in the online classes. Make an arrangement. I saw a beautiful video that has been sent by a friend, I think in the IECS group. A child has done that invention. He has brought a table. He has put 2 rods of his fridge on that table. On top of that table, he puts 2 bricks kind structures, and there he hangs the a kind of a mirror, and he is writing. The teacher is writing on the blackboard below, and it can be seen on the top. A beautiful kind of an innovation. Please stand up while teaching and use your posture. Be more dramatic. I know you are not dramatic usually. Teachers are not dramatic. It's only a social science teacher who is sometimes dramatic, or some are more dramatic than others. But here in these online classes, you are not watching the children, but you are being watched. So if you move your arms and open them up, if you show them actions with the help of your hands, well, you have to be more dramatic, and you have to display a lot of energy. A lot of energy. Then there I said, be inspired. Here I say, don't only be inspired, display and make a show of that energy to your children as much as you can. I come to the last point here. Please give them activities and opportunities to express themselves. Your children should get opportunity of expressing themselves in different ways. Make them write, make them chat, make them speak, make them perform assignments, make them answer questions in a quiz. Multiple ways to express should be given to the children. In a face-to-face class, you do them. I know you do them, certainly do them. But in an online class, also it becomes important. You will be surprised, as I found out. There are some children in our classes whom I never saw opening their mouth. Even I went to the extent of sometimes ridiculing or mocking them. Are you afraid of catching some flies? That's why you do not open your mouth. But the same child I saw in an online class, oh my God, he was the most vociferous, because now he knew his colleagues are not there to torment him. His peer group is not there, and he could speak and surprise you with his voluminous conversation. Give them all an opportunity and you yourself will be surprised. There were 9 points in all. I summarized them. Respect the technology and know about the platform. Less content on presentation is always more. The face-to-face learning is a different cup of tea. The online learning is different. The pedagogy always matters. Get feedback from your colleagues as early as possible. The lesson does not stop with the end of the lesson. It continues because you have to look at their assignments, answer them, know where my children are, remedy the situation. It needs a lot of preparation. Rehearsal on your part, instructions clear on your part. You can't ignore anything. Display a lot of energy, dramatize, stand up, and then ask your children to express themselves in as many ways as many they can. Write, chat, or answer questions and do assignments. That brings me to the end of it. I thank you all. This is the Hong Kong indoor stadium where the children used to play badminton in 2 courts. They are conducting an examination. Social distancing is also maintained, and I use this to thank you. I'll stop the recording. I'll stop sharing, and then we can come to the normal mode. I have stopped sharing. I have stopped recording. No, I've not stopped as yet. What happened? Do you want to stop recording?